Hello, can you hear me now? Hello, can you see me and can you hear me? Hello, is it better now? Can you guys hear me and see me? Can you hear me? Just having some technical difficulties, unfortunately. Hold on. Hello, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me now? Okay, now you guys can. Okay, perfect. Excellent. Can you guys see me? Okay, perfect. Good. I think that's great. We're ready to rock and roll. Hi, everyone. My name is Carl Alphonse. I'm the founder partner of Alphonse Latham LLP. Our firm specializes in U.S. Canadian immigration, Canadian employment law, workplace investigation, corporate training, human rights, and we recently just added an entertainment lawyer to our firm. So today we're going to be talking about U.S. immigration. How can entrepreneurs, businesses, and investors expand into the U.S.? Today's presentation is going to be really an overview. We don't have the time to go in detail in all of those different work permit categories. So I'll just give an overview today, but maybe down the line, I'll be doing like a session on each of those work permit categories because yeah, there's a lot of information to cover. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat as I'm able to see you guys on the chat. So, we will talk about like different work permits. So the first one is the L1 work permit, the H1B, the O1, the E visas, the E1 and the E2. Then we're going to be talking about the TN NAFTA. Then we'll be talking about the E3 for Australian, the H1B for Chile and Singapore nationals. Then we'll finalize with the J1 and the H3 visa, which are for students. So before we begin, just want to remind people of, like the immigration benefit pause for certain countries that is affecting application at USCIS. USCIS is the entity that process application in the US. Whereas, like there's also the Department of State. Um, so so yeah, so so those entities, unfortunately, depending on what country that you're coming from, it's possible that they might not be processing the immigration benefits, and that does affect visas. There's some countries where there's a full suspension, and those countries include Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Unfortunately, if you're from one of those countries, you could still apply, but it's like they're not gonna process your application. So yeah, you have to keep that in mind. We don't have the time to go into it in detail, but I just want to remind you of this. So the first work permit, probably one of the ones that I do the most often, and probably one of my favorite work permit is the L1 intra-company transfer work permit. For this one, like this is a great work permit, and the reason why I would say this one is probably the gold standard of work permit, because you could have intention to be temporary in the U.S. at the same time have intention to have apply for a green card, and that's why I like it a lot. So for this one, there's three types of people that could apply for it. So there's specialized knowledge. So those are the people that apply under the L1B. For that one, the visa maximum is 5 years. So for specialized knowledge, it's someone that is, like that has proprietary information about the company. That person's knowledge is not common in the industry and in the company. Let's say it's someone that developed like a tool at the company, and that person did the code. Because of that, the person is someone that needs specialized knowledge. So that person could be transferred to overseas. Also, we're talking about like managers. So managers, there's two types of managers. There are people managers, there's functional manager. People manager manage people. Functional manager manage function of the organization. And we're also talking about executive. Executive are people that are high up in the organization and that have discretion to make this decision for the company. So if that's the case, you are able to get the L1A. So it depends on the citizenship for this type of application, because for Canadians, you don't need a visa, to apply for this. So you could apply for it without the visa. So you could apply for it at the border. For other any type of nationalities, usually it's a two-step process. So the first step, you apply at USCIS. You can get premium processing for 15-day processing for a lot of the case. And once you get the decision, you go to the consulate to get your visa stamp on your visa. As you guys know right now, there's some long wait time, depending on which consulate that you are in. But yeah, it's still possible to get a visa, at consulate, but it does take a bit of time. Right now, for the L1 applications, a lot of the cases are seeing, requests for evidence, which might add to the time for it. Okay. So for the L1, what's important is how long the business has been doing activities in the US. So is the business been there for more than a year? It's possible to get the initial duration of 3 years. Then after that, it could be extended up to 2 years. So for the L1B, you get the first one for 3 years. Then after that, you get an additional 2 years. And for the manager and executive, you get the first 3 years, then you get 2 more extensions. But for companies that hasn't been in the US for in activity for more than a year, in those type of situation, you will need to, like, when you apply for the L1, it's going to be an L1 new office, meaning that you'll get the visa for only 1 year. But after that, you'll need to show that you met the requirement for the visa and that your company grew, then you'll be able to extend it for 2 additional years. So the next visa is the H-1B, which is the specialty occupation. So this one also is a gold standard of visa. The reason why it's a gold standard of visa is that, is that you could apply for temporary and also have intention for permanent resident at the same time. And also for this one, what's great with it is that while you have that visa, if you have a green card pending, it's possible to extend it beyond the visa max of 6 years. So a lot of people, what they do, they alternate between the L1 and the H-1B. And when the L1 is done and they have a H-1B and they have a green card pending, they just move to the H-1B and they extend it all the way until they get the visa. So yeah, it's a great one for someone who's planning to apply for a green card. For the H-1B, usually it's available to someone who's in a specialty occupation. So usually that person holds a 4-year bachelor's degree. But there's people that doesn't hold the bachelor's degree, but you're able to qualify for it, if you are able to get the third-party assessment saying that the person's experience is equivalent to a diploma. So it's still possible to do that. So yeah, so it's this is why this is probably one of the best visas. Right now, for the H-1B cap, it's a lottery that happens every single year. So yeah, it's a lottery that happens every single year. And, it happens in March, usually. Then in March, they give the date where employers and employees can register for the H-1B cap. Then there's a lottery at the end of March. Then starting in April, companies are able to apply, make the full application for people who were selected in the H-1B cap. For this year, the dates, it's currently people are applying. So if you didn't register for the H-1B cap this year, you'll have to wait for next year. But for this season, the H-1B cap is valid until so yeah, it's gonna be, the H-1B is gonna be activated on October 1st, 2026. So if you were selected, you're gonna be depending on what option that you chose. Most people are choosing change of status. So if you chose change of status, your status will change to H-1B starting October 1st, 2026. It's also possible for people, who are not in the US to apply. In those cases, they do a consular notification. Then they once they get their approval, they bring their approval to the consulate and they get a stamp on their visa. But you have to be careful because people outside of the US might be subject to the $100,000 fee that was announced by the administration last year. But people that who are already in the US, that are doing the change of status are not subject to that fee. So it's something that's really important to take into consideration. But the H-1B could be a really strong work permit, and even for entrepreneurs and professional, it's a really strong visa. Yeah, like I said, the L1A, the manager and executive is a really good one also for funders and of companies. So the O1 visa. So the O1 visa is probably one of the my favorite visas. So those are visas for people that have extraordinary ability of an achievement. So those are the people who are at the top of their field. So the best, they have different. They meet the criteria, to show that they're the best of the best in their field. And it could be any field. It could be in the science, could be in the arts, could be in education, could be in business, could be in athletics, could be in motion pictures industries. It could be anything. Usually for this one, you get the visa for up to 3 years at first. Then you can increase it by 1 year increment. Usually for that visa, it's a two-step process. You do the application at USCIS. You could get premium processing for 15 days. Then once the case is approved, you go to the consulate to get the stamp in the passport. For Canadians, they don't need to do the consulate step because Canadians are visa exempt in the US. Then there's the E1 3D trader. So this one is based on trade. So this one is one of the good ones, but there must be a treaty between the United States and the country of the foreign national. So we have to look at where is the person coming from. Let's say it's someone from Canada. So if the person owes a company, and there's different people at the company, different shareholders, we have to look at the nationality of the shareholder. So we have to see if there's more than we have to see if there's more than 50% of the shareholders who are Canadians. So in that case, once we can show that the company is the same nationality of the shareholder, we can apply for that one. For the 3D trader, it really depends on the trade with the United States. One thing that, so we're talking about something called substantial trade. So when we're talking about trade, it could be anything. It doesn't only mean good, it could also be services. But we just have to show with invoices, how much trade is happening between Canada and the US. And this one is usually pretty good when the company has, is already established and has contracts in the US. That's a good sign that E1 visa could be a possibility. But for the E1 visa, as I mentioned, for the L1 and the H1B, those are dual intent. The E1 visa, unfortunately, is a single intent, so you could only have intent to be temporary in the US. It doesn't mean that you're not able to apply for a green card. Just mean that you have to time it perfectly if you want to apply for a green card. Okay, so for the E1 visa, each country is different, in terms of the duration of the visa for the e-visas. But usually you could do like extension as long as you have as long as there's work to do, as long as the company is active and meet the requirement for the e-visa. And usually this one is done at the consulate at first, then you could extend at USCIS. The same, if you do it at USCIS, you could get premium processing. So there's also the E2 3D investor. So this one is a good one as well, but this one is more about the investment that you're making in the US. Okay, so we're talking about the term substantial investment, but in terms of the rest of the criteria for the e-visa, it's the same. So there has to be a treaty. The nationals have to be citizen of the same entity, the same as the entity. And also in this case, is substantial investment. There's not really an amount for what the investment is, but it really depends on the type of business. Some business, the investment will be 100 plus. Some it might be less, but yeah, whatever fits in the business. But what's important is that the investment is enough to make the business like operational. So whatever you're investing, like it needs to be enough to so the business is able to work and also generate revenue in the US. So we're talking about, like, anything could be part of the investment. So all the expenses, for payroll, to get licenses, to get premises, to buy inventory, to pay for taxes, even the legal fees, that the business have. All of those things goes into the investment. What's important is also that the investment must be put at risk, meaning that like the investment, like it's not like once the person get the visa, they're able to get the money back. No, so the money needs to be in a position where it's at risk, and also the business need to make enough money for it to make sense, for the owner of the business. And usually for those things, what takes a lot of times for the E2 visa is really to show the financial record of the source of funds. So as a lawyer, what we do is that we have receipts for all the expenses, to show, and we add it up to get the total of the investment. So usually for the when we look at the E1 and the E2, like, we usually use the E2 for new businesses. Usually those businesses are brand new in the US. They don't have any contracts. When a business already have a long history in the US, lots of transaction, lots of invoice, in those cases, I will probably lean towards the E1. But it really depends. It's on a case by case basis. Some businesses might qualify for E1 and E2. It really depends on what the strategy is in the case. In terms of the duration, is the same duration, but you'll notice each country have their own length. Like the duration is different depending on the country. So that's why I'm not going to go into it, but it's going to be important to check for your country to see what the duration is. So the TN visa. So yeah, the TN visa is probably one of my favorite one. So the TN visa, you're able to. So this is for Mexican and Canadian, and so this is based on the trade agreement between those three countries. And there's a long list of different occupation that are listed. It's about 60 occupation. And if someone has a contract to go to one of those countries, they will qualify for the TN. So if you're going to the US or Mexico or Canada, and you in the one of the occupation, you could get that visa. But you have to note the TN is a single intent visa, meaning that you're not able to apply for a green card. You could apply for a green card, but the timing has to be perfect. So once you have a green card application pending, you might not be able to renew your TN. The TN is usually granted for 3 years, but it could be extended in 3-year increment. And the process for Canadians differs from the ones for Mexicans, although the requirements are the same. As I mentioned before, Canadians are visa exempt and they can apply at the border and the pre-clearance at the airports. For Mexican, they have to go to the consulate to renew their TNs. To get the TNs, it's possible to extend at USCIS, or for Canadians, sometimes I will tell my clients just go to the port of entry again to get another visa. But the TN is probably one of the visa that is the fastest to get. So E3 Australia, US free trade. So this one is similar to the H1B, except this one there's no cap. So every year, like there's 10,500 of those visas that are available, and the quota has never been met. So just like I said for the H1B, you need to you need to show that you have at least equivalent of 4-year bachelor's degree. If so like when I said that, if you don't have a diploma, you could use your experience to give you the equivalent. So if you yeah you if you don't have it, you could do it, you could do the equivalent, right? So um once once you for this visa, the initial duration is 2 years, and it could be renewed unlimited time. um for this one, you could do it at USCIS or the consulate. But like I usually tell my clients to simply do it at the consulate. The consulate is much faster for it, for this one for Australian nationals. But you could definitely do it also at USCIS. The H1B Chile and Singapore is the same one as the H1B and the E3, but this time is for Chile nationals, so there's 1,400 visas per year, and so for Singapore national, 5,400 visas per year. The quota has never been met. Same thing, like only in this case, the duration is 1 year, and it can be renewed unlimited time for one additional year. And same thing in terms of the process. You could do to the consulate, or you could do it at USCIS. So the J1 interns and trainees. So the J1, this one is almost like a student visa, but you use it, to come and to get your employees in the US for a short duration and get hands-on training, which may not be enough for some. So interns must be enrolled in foreign university or graduated from such a within 12-month assignment. The duration of visa can be up to 12 months. Trainees must have been graduated from a foreign university and have at least 1 year of prior work experience. May be subject to a 2-year foreign residency requirement. So usually what they talk about the 2-year foreign residency requirement is that once the visa is done, you have to go back home usually. So if you're subject to the 2-year requirement, it's important to speak with an attorney, if you want to apply for a green card. It's not impossible, but you have to seek an exemption. Usually those applications are made at the consulate. But yeah, like I said, all of those different types of visa that I'm talking about, depending on what country that you're from, you might be affected by the travel ban that is in place right now. And also there's the H1, H3 trainee and special education exchange visitors. So this is an option who only need a finite period of time, up to 2 years in the United States. This is ideal for multinational training programs. Although the H3 does not grant employee per se, it does allow an employee to invite an individual to petitioner's organization for training in any field, which include on-the-job training. So yeah, to qualify for the H1, H3, you need to first, the training offered is not available abroad, so it's not something that is available in your home country. The individual will not be placed in a normally filled by employees. So yeah, it's a position, like it's not like it's not a normal position that you will give to another employee at your company. And the individual will not be engaged in any productive employment. Such employment is incidental and necessary for the training. Training will benefit the individual in obtaining career abroad. So yeah, if the person is planning to stay in the US, it's not a good visa for them. And this one is a 2-step process. We apply at USCIS. We could get the premium processing, which is for 15-day processing. Then after, when the visa is granted, you could apply for stamping of the passport. Yeah, so yeah, this, as I mentioned, today's presentation was fairly brief. I just wanted to give you an overview of the most popular work permit that I use for my clients to get to the US. If you need any assistance, I know it's a lot of information to cover. please reach out to our firm, Alphonse Latham. We do help companies with expansion in Canada, in the US. Also, we also do Canadian employment law, workplace investigation, corporate training, human rights, and also we do entertainment law. Thank you very much for your time. So we'll keep you posted for our next webinar. Bye.